sorry, I can't hear you. One moment. I apologize so badly.
You're good.
For some reason, it does not want to. I swear it says connecting.
Final tap moment of the day. Hello. Is there anybody in there? Is there anyone?
That'll do it.
Can you hear me now?
Finally,
Awesome.
I can hear you.
That's great.
Podcaster, entertainer, philosopher, comedian, Mike Usenick. Usenick Unleashed.
Welcome. Now that it is working.
Hi. We're actually doing it.
How are you doing? We're going to probably.
I am doing well.
I'm going to probably keep some of that in the beginning. That was comedy gold.
Dude. And now look at my hair. I'm like, yep, give up. I give up. I give up.
That was very Spinal Tap of us. I think I'm just going to be the Spinal Tap of podcasting. That was fucking wild. That was cool.
I'm like, huh? What?
So how you been doing?
I've been pretty good. Well, other than my back and the flu, and yeah,
we've had this scheduled like 6 different times between schedule conflicts, back problems.
At least I actually got rained on, which is why my hair is like, and I've given up.
You look fine. You are your own worst enemy.
I am.
We all are. I think we all are, and there's a reason for that. I honestly feel it's just trauma that causes us to be that way. That and the constant battle between the ego and the subconscious.
I can agree with all of that. Absolutely. Whenever we talk ego, we could be talking about either the mental, as established by Freud, or we could be talking about like this, and we all need some of this, but not a lot. Not a lot at all.
Here's the thing, though, is both egos go hand in hand. That's the thing, is like if people act out of character, they're like, well, that wasn't me. Yes, it is. It's a manifestation of yourself. Everything that you think, positive or negative, crazy or not, is a part of you. And we should accept it. Because at the end of the day, there is no really bad or good in this world. It's just a matter of interpretation and what you do with it.
Yes. Yes.
Because even the worst moments in history, good things came from it. Whether it be advancements of medication or technology.
Unfortunately, yes.
It's the duality of life.
It is, but I know what you're talking about, and you're not wrong.
I'm not wrong. I'm not going to say it because then I'd get canceled.
No. Oh, yeah.
But
no.
even the worst wars in history has led to advancement of medicine, technology.
Yeah. What was it? It was the Civil War, is how we learned a lot about digestion, because people would just have holes in them. And they would be like, oh, hey, while you're dying, mind if I root around in there?
And you know what's weird?
But I'm sorry, though. I'm going to have to say this because this is like the Unleashed version, right?
Okay.
So I'm allowed to be as crass as I want to be.
Floor is yours.
They're wrong, because there is no way a chimichanga lasted 24 hours in my stomach.
Well, they were wrong about a lot of things, because a lot of doctors claim that gum stayed in your digestive system for 20 years.
Okay, so advancements in medicine. Here is something that I feel is insane, is that my mother had a 12-day heart attack.
Damn.
Okay. Now, why did she have a 12-day heart attack? Well, because my mom was complaining about these chest pains and this weird gas she was having. And I'm listening to her and I'm like, Mom, that's a female heart attack. And she said, No, I know what a heart attack symptom is. And I'm like, no. In the last 15 years, they found out, I think it's 15 years, they found out that women present differently in a heart attack. And everything you are telling me is like textbook. And she's like, no. So finally, I worry her enough. She goes to the doctor. The doctor tells her no. He puts her on Prevacid. 12 days later, my mom can't speak.
Damn.
She's sitting there just like, my brother calls an ambulance. They get her to the hospital and immediately take her back because she's having a heart attack. And has, in fact, been having a heart attack this entire time because somehow nobody bothered to tell the older doctors that there was newer information.
See, that's the negative about the medical field is, and it can be said with any field really, is there's not enough teaching because it's such a big field and there's not enough knowledge because people always want to think, and not everybody's guilty of it in one way or another. They want to think, well, that's not the way I was taught. Well, no, because we didn't know.
Right. At one point, we thought that the sun rotated around the earth.
And
then we went to space.
and then even older than that, the ancient civilizations thought the sun was a god that went to the underworld and then came back in the morning.
Yes. Yes. And they believed that you could sail directly off the edge of the earth.
Yeah, actually, let me say a little something that might be blow some minds a little bit. Is I was watching a documentary somewhat recently, and also I went and saw Ancient Aliens recently. Shout out to them guys. It was live and Wheeling, and they brought up a really good point. How's come ancient civilizations drew pictures on walls of round planets if they didn't know the Earth wasn't flat?
Yes, this is true. Yes, this is true.
That blows the whole theory out of water.
They had to have had, there's a theory out there that we are another ideation of humanity because
Yes.
humanity keeps dying and bringing us back. Crazy enough, so my boyfriend will he'll bring this up to me, and then we'll end up talking about this all day long. The first, the Old Testament, all of the rules there are about how to stay clean and eat healthy, which is what you need in order to survive. They're all survival rules.
Yep.
They're all survival rules.
Yep, like don't eat pork because pigs actually absorb the toxins that they eat.
And they also just constantly have worms in them. So you're most likely to get, between the toxins and the worms, you're the most likely to get sick from them. Or the shellfish.
See, I really like the theory that human beings are not more technologically advanced than previous civilizations. We just lost that due to science and due to civilizations being wiped out.
Okay. So, I don't know if you have heard of the Neanderthal theory.
Which theory?
So, it's not even a theory anymore. They have actually come out with it and found out that this is the absolute truth. Number one, everyone in the world currently has approximately 2% Neanderthal DNA.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we have interbred with them so often. But they are now finding that we were not the advanced civilization that bred down. They
Mhm.
were.
Mhm.
They found out that they were a very caring, earth-centered, community first type of situation. They were very God worshiping and everything else.
You want to know what else is weird?
They were also more intelligent than us.
Really? So that would add to the theory of what if that same breed, but like somewhat different, was what the Egyptians were.
Yeah, that could be. And because, like, please, anyone out there know that I am not meaning varying or Neanderthal in the way, but I'm saying, like, if you actually look at it, intelligent, God worshiping, earth friendly, community driven, does that not sound like every native population that was in the United States
Or
whenever we
worldwide.
got here? You know
Yeah.
what? I don't know a lot about the original populations in a lot of other worlds and in a lot of other countries.
Now, adding to your theory, what if it's not just Neanderthal? Ever heard of the ancient alien theory or the ancient astronaut theory?
I have, I have. Now, I mean, please say it for anyone who hasn't.
Anyone who hasn't heard of it is the theory that the gods that are mentioned in various religions is actually a misinterpretation of an extraterrestrial life that came here and interbred with other animals to create humans. Um, and it's weird to think because the early Egypt and a lot of the pharaohs had elongated skulls, and they
Crystal
had
skulls.
and they were able to achieve things through either a knowledge or technology that we can barely do today with our modern equipment.
The crystal skulls, they thought that those were like, why are they elongated? And then they came across the people who actually used to have the elongated skulls.
Yep.
And I believe that you and I have talked before about the seamlessness of the
Yes.
crystal skulls. Like, there's no way that it should be the
Well,
way that it is.
another thing that was discovered is one of the elongated skulls that was found. It wasn't in Egypt. I think the one that I'm going to refer to was in, I forget where, Ethiopia, I think. I could be mistaken. And the skull wasn't just elongated, but our human skulls have lines in them. You know,
Yes.
yes, this one in particular did not. It was lacking that line. Now they believe that maybe it could have been due to age, because as you get older, the line is less prevalent. But this line is non-existent. So what they
Yeah, I
did
was
was
going to say, it'll be there at some point.
they took a tooth. Hold on, let me charge my laptop before it dies. I forgot to plug it in. Anyway, the elongated skull that they found, they took a tooth fragment and they grounded it and they dated it, and that skull belonged to a 8-year-old. They could not find out who the mother was, but they found out the father lived 1,000 miles away from where the skull was found. So with no modern transportation, how did that skull get there?
That is a very long travel.
1,000 and some years ago, too, or even
Yeah.
longer. This was like maybe 2 or 3,000 years ago, because you got to think Egypt was around at this time.
Okay, so help me out with this, though.
Hmm.
Because the reason we have the fissures
Hmm.
is because whenever we're born, our skulls have to move.
Yes.
So how would that person, would it be
Yeah.
hatched? Like, what is that, or is that what they're saying? Like, is that,
What scientists are claiming is the reason for the elongated skull phenomenon is because back then they believed it was a symbol of intelligence, so they would purposely do it to children.
Yeah, they would put bans. But the ones without them,
However,
they've done the same with other necks and stuff.
yeah, but those are adults doing that to themselves. How would an elongated skull without the lines exist in an 8-year-old?
That's why I'm saying, like, no lines in an 8-year-old. They have to be like hatched.
So science is trying so hard to,
Especially if it's fully grown 8-year-old skull. Like, that was a full skull. We're not talking like there was something wrong with it.
well, archaeologists and science, and they have to, tries to disprove what skeptics say, but it's gotten to the point where scientists are becoming the skeptics because what they're saying doesn't make sense.
So, okay. All right. I'm about to slightly take us down a trip by talking about one of my favorite shows. Okay?
Good.
So, have you ever watched Evil?
Well, I'm sorry, what? There was a noise behind me. I couldn't hear you.
Have you ever watched Evil?
Evil? No.
Yes. Okay, so I believe it's on Netflix, but it's also on Paramount Plus. Anyone who does not want to have it spoiled as a show, like, because I'm going to just say stuff. Yeah. Oh, dude, I talk with my hands so much. My mom has told me that I need to learn sign language.
I think you're doing a good job. I know some sign language. This is poop.
I know this is milk. I'm learning along with my 1-year-old niece. But anyway.
So, Jana, before you continue with your point, I'm going to teach some people some sign language really quick. As you said, this is milk, right?
This is milk.
Do you know what this is?
No.
Pasteurized milk. Go ahead.
It's good.
Go ahead.
So Evil is my favorite show because it actually like is my brain playing out in front of me. Sounds like a bad joke, okay? There's a pastor, a psychologist, and a IT tech whiz. Okay, computer whiz.
Sounds like a really bad joke. Okay, go ahead.
It does. It does. It does. And they walk into a church. But what it is the pastor is, well, the priest is the one, he's one of the ones tasked with checking out if like this is really happening. Is it a miracle? Is it an infestation of a host, or that's, is it a haunting? Stuff like this. But they have to have a skeptic. Okay, they have to have somebody there to disprove so that he doesn't get wrapped up in his religion. So he hires, a psychologist and a tech wizard. And that's his team. But they are so busy disproving that this could possibly be what they're looking at.
And it is.
That they are ignoring that it literally is.
And that's
we're talking eyeballs floating up in the bathroom, and they're like, meh.
But that's literally what we do with life.
It is. It really is. And I've always said, because if Jesus came back right now, he'd be institutionalized. You realize that.
He would be a Satanist. I'll say it.
He would, or because, he would be considered a Satanist. He would be considered a Democrat, but while he's sitting there talking about I am God's son, they're going to put him in jail for his own good. They're going to end up putting him in a psych ward for a while. And
by him again.
Yeah. And if they ever found out that he could do the miracles, they would kill him or they would experiment on him.
I honestly think that because back then when people wrote tablets and they wrote down, they had a very limited language, so they wrote in a very esoteric way. By that I mean very symbolic. There wasn't literal, it was some symbolism. So to know what they really meant is nearly impossible. because we aren't them. We don't know what they mean. That's human language. What I say here, you might translate the way that I'm thinking, but somebody else out of context won't understand.
You know what? I understand that. There is actually a language with, okay, this is going to sound like I've gone completely off, but it's a language with flowers.
Hmm.
You do not give your love white lilies, and you do not give red roses at a funeral unless you're close,
Yep.
because they mean certain things. The lilies literally do mean death. So you don't want to hand, so, but while we have some working knowledge of what's happening with flowers, we wouldn't know enough to be able to translate a bouquet meant
Hmm.
for, so I mean, unless it's someone who really knows what they're doing, and some of those, even the flowers have dual meanings.
Well, even in like, let's go back. I talk about this a lot, but it's very easy to explain to people. When you go back as early as like ancient Egypt, and I don't mean Cleopatra Egypt, I mean ancient Egypt, like before, way before Cleopatra, Egyptians had a god by the name of Osiris, and he was still around when Cleopatra was around, but he's an older deity, and he died and resurrected, which was symbolic of death and rebirth,
Mm-hmm.
which could be symbolic of the death of the old you and the birth of the new you through
Mm-hmm.
enlightenment. Like it's symbolism, but looking back now, we don't know even if that's what they meant, because that's the language barrier. We're just
Yeah.
saying what we think we know based on our own discoveries. None of us really know anything. I think it was, I forget who it was, but it was one of the philosophers. They said, the only thing that we know is that we don't know.
Yeah. And whenever you realize how insignificant you are in the world, I feel that you do better in life.
Yeah.
I know that sounds, some people probably think that sounds so weird, but like when you stop being significant, you can actually see how the world works
Well,
when it
when you
when it doesn't revolve around you. You know what I mean?
see, I still have that ego struggle, and I would be facetious and a liar to say that I don't, but I think we all do at certain points. But I get what you mean. If you realize you're insignificant, then you quit caring what other people think about your passions. Then you quit caring what other people think because they're also insignificant. Because
Exactly.
we're all equally insignificant.
Whenever I feel like whenever you take, because I think that a lot of us have had moments of insignificance.
Yeah.
Have you ever stood under the most beautiful night sky or looked up at the moon and just for a moment, like you're in awe that this is even in existence?
Yeah. I think we all forget that during the
Oh,
day.
one moment. Who is it? I'm on a podcast, honey.
Dave's
Thank you.
not
I'm on
here.
a podcast.
Dave's not here, man.
What? I know,
So,
honey. I'm on a podcast. Thank you.
Dave's not here.
It's not here, man.
So I saw this picture that relates to what you said, what you were saying. And this is a very interesting thing that goes with what you said. Let me get the picture up here because I have a photo to go with what you are stating. Once I get it going here, sorry. All right, now
I couldn't get my ears to go for a while. You're fine.
in the current solar system that we are in, you are here.
Mm-hmm.
So, what makes us think that we are the most significant thing in the universe if we are that big in our own solar system?
And whenever you have those moments of like looking up at the sky and looking at the moon and just being like, wow, your brain works in a different way because it's no longer about you in that moment. It's about everything in that moment. And like I've had those moments even in on beautiful sunny days, and I just want to take it all in and capture it. And then it's like, man, everything out here is working together in harmony, except us humans. But everything out there, like everything has a place in this world but us.
Or
And
is that,
it's almost like we don't even deserve to be in the same world as the bumblebees.
or is that the case? Because
I don't know.
for those who follow their life's journey and they let life happen and they follow their dreams, or in the words of Aleister Crowley, they follow their true will, those people are in harmony with the universe because they don't care about anything but what is, what their true will is.
I've never reached that point. I feel like we could have been, and this is so funny because it's funny that we were in the Garden of Eden. I have a whole story on that I believe in, but we really could be the keepers of the planet.
Mhm.
We really could be the ones that take care of it all. We could be the ones that keep it flowing in its best potential,
Mhm.
but we're too wrapped up in ourselves.
That,
So-
and we tend to forget that there are stories that we've heard growing up and had pounded into our brains, but that same story exists elsewhere in a different context. Such as you mentioned the Garden of Eden, a very similar story was told in Samaria, or Summer, sorry, in Sumerian texts. There was a beautiful tree planted by a goddess. Now you can look it up. I might not be telling the story exact, but that tree was guarded by a woman by the name of Lilith. And at the top of that tree was a serpent. And that tree was very symbolic of knowledge. And nobody could get to that tree.
Yeah. Well, so if you look at Genesis,
Yeah.
you
Not the
find,
band.
and this keeps trying to follow, not the band, not the band. Though I do love me some Genesis.
Which era do you prefer?
I can feel it coming in the dead of night.
I can feel it coming in the
So-
air tonight. It's a Phil Collins
Yeah,
song. But
there you
yeah,
go.
Phil Collins era of Genesis was good.
Well, wasn't he? No,
He was in
he
it,
was
yeah.
his own thing, wasn't it? I thought that was them, and then he broke off on his own.
He did. But the song that you named is a Phil Collins song.
Is a Phil? Okay, well then maybe I just like Phil Collins.
But he was in Genesis. He was a
Okay,
replacement singer. They had an original lineup before him.
who did the puppet video? That was Genesis, right?
Which puppet?
Do you not know the puppet video?
No. Oh, yes. I think that was Genesis.
Okay, that I'm about to look. We're about to find out. Am I good?
Yeah, you're good. It's the Land of Confusion, though. By
Yes.
yeah, that is Genesis, I do believe.
Okay, that is Genesis.
Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure. Actually, guess what?
Is that Phil Collins too?
I do believe. Let me. This is hilarious. I don't even know what the fuck.
Yeah, they were
Okay.
like,
It's a
the
Phil
same.
Collins. It's Genesis.
It is Genesis.
That was one of the last songs I think they released before he left Genesis.
That was the greatest. That was the greatest.
Yeah, Genesis was known for their hit songs was Land of Confusion, Follow You, Follow Me, I Know What I Like in Your Wardrobe.
See, I don't know any of those. I just
they
know the
were-
first one, The Land of Confusion.
They were like a psychedelic rock group, really.
Yeah,
And
I had no idea.
You're a Phil Collins fan. Okay, we got it.
I'm a Phil Collins fan, not a Genesis.
That's like saying
Sitting there like,
I'm a huge Black Sabbath fan. I really like Crazy Train. No, I'm just
Okay.
kidding. I'm just kidding.
so I found out that I'm a huge person fan, not band fan. This is so weird. So to me, Trent Reznor and Nine Inch Nails cannot be, like, they're interchangeable.
Well, they are, because it's Trent Reznor solo group.
It is, right?
Yeah.
So to me, if Nine Inch Nails drop something, Trent Reznor has dropped something. If Trent Reznor has dropped something, Nine Inch Nails has dropped something. It's literally him.
I didn't know Trent Reznor was solo. That's redundant.
So he hooks up with people just as Trent Reznor to do pieces. Trent Reznor and David Bowie did songs. Nine Inch Nails and David Bowie did not.
Well, I'm sorry to say, if you're on a song with David Bowie, then yeah, it's David Bowie featuring you. But if it's Nine Inch Nails with a different person, then it's Nine Inch Nails featuring.
I mean, I'm being honest. No joke. There is no other way to put that. And they redid I'm Afraid of Americans together.
Uh-huh.
And people just talked about the new music that David Bowie dropped. Like, oh, and I think Trent Reznor's in the video somewhere. And it's like, no, he helped make that. He helped produce the new one.
You know who else is like that? You know who else is like that?
Who's that?
Johnny Cash.
The man is amazing. Well, was. God bless him. But yeah, he
covered songs that people didn't realize were covers. Like Hurt, which was originally Nine Inch Nails, but there's one that you might not realize. You know the song, I forget the name of the song, but I was born in the sun of misery, but I never had me a name. They just gave me the number when I was young. That song.
I actually don't really know that one.
Well, it was in the movie Hangover, done by the original artist. But Johnny Cash covered it, and it became very popular. But the original artist was Glenn Danzig. He wrote it and gave it to Johnny Cash and didn't do his own version until after Johnny had passed.
I did not realize that. I'll tell you what. I know, though, that Trent said it was the most beautiful thing he had ever heard, and it was no longer his.
Yeah, when Johnny Cash covers a song, it's not yours anymore. That's kind of like Weird Al Yankovic when he parodies a song that ain't yours no more. That's
not in any way, shape, or form.
So I heard a guy.
Oh, good grief! One moment. I'm sorry. There is a cat that got let in by the last intrusion.
You're good. I actually saw it in the background, but I didn't know if the cat belonged there.
She does, but not. There are times that she will allow me to have an entire podcast, and she won't give me one little issue. And then there are times whenever she's like, no, you must stop your podcast right this second so that I can get out of your room.
See, if you haven't gathered, this podcast isn't about being professional. It's about having the fun and obscurities in life happen. That's what happens. But there's other artists, though, that when they cover songs, it's not the original artists. However, the original artist is more popular than the cover artist.
Yes.
A prime example, Nothing Compares to You, sung by Sinead O'Connor.
Yeah.
Do you know who wrote it?
No.
You're going to feel dumb when
Prince.
I tell you. Yes. Because the spelling, Nothing Compares to You. It's a Prince song.
Yes. I remember that. I was like, no. Oh, I do know this.
Before she covered it, who was Sinead O'Connor?
I don't know.
She wasn't insanely popular. At least
I
not
don't
from
know.
my memory. When she released that song, she went from to
Oh,
stardom.
no, yeah. I know that she had a couple that like people knew of her,
Yeah.
but I think you're right. Like that never. No, okay, but here's my question. Is this a cover? Because did Prince ever actually play
Live.
that?
Live he did.
Live he did.
So
Wow.
what would we consider a cover though? Because if the original performer doesn't perform it, is it still a cover even though it is their song? So
So
if Prince performs it live, then that means Prince is covering his own song.
So the funny thing is that there is a pretty long-standing history of writing a song, but knowing that it's too out of your range. The song has to live,
Yeah.
but you don't know. You know you can't sing it. So then they pass it on to someone else, and they just get writer's credit. Now a cover is you have written the song for yourself. You have played the song. You have put it out there to your people, played it, recorded it, everything like that, and then someone else does it. Now they've covered your music.
Yeah, but what if that person that does it is the original writer? Is it still a cover?
See, that's what I'm saying. I don't know, because whenever you said that Danzig did it after Cash passed, and I'm like, okay, so now we need the whiteboard with the red string and the little post-it notes to be like, but then he was over here, but this is his. But is it his? But it could be his.
Hey, you want me to blow your mind even further? Okay. Since we covered that side of the spectrum, how about this one? Hellraiser was written by Ozzy Osbourne and Lemmy. Both bands released it. However, Ozzy did it first. So is Lemmy the cover artist, or are they both the original artists? And then they released later on, after Lemmy died, the version with both of them. So is the Motorhead version the cover version, and is Ozzy and Lemmy's a cover version of Ozzy's performance? You're having a stroke. I see it. It's
Mildly. If one side of my face just slumps, let me know. Okay.
It's either that or palsy. I don't know which one. That's wild.
Well, I mean, my mom has had both, so maybe. So I guess I'm up for either.
You want to hear something mind blowing? There's this guy I'm friends with. He is very. I think he'd be considered very influential and very like. His story should resonate with people because this guy has palsy, and he's also a professional wrestler.
Okay.
He has the form that causes you to randomly lose feeling in your limbs, I believe.
Oh,
Because there's
that's
various forms of it.
so. Wait, there's the type that you lose just complete.
Feeling in
don't
one
know
side of your
a lot-
body.
Yeah, I don't know a whole lot about cerebral palsy.
Cerebral palsy is kind of a spectrum. I think it's they call it palsy, but like there's different versions of it. And there's
The
different
cerebral is the one that does it to your legs, right? Or am I off on that?
cerebral palsy also is a spectrum because pro wrestling commentator
So palsy is a spectrum, and then cerebral palsy is like its own.
palsy is a blanket term. Cerebral palsy is kind of like
okay.
a bunch of. I could be wrong. I'm not a doctor, but cerebral palsy, I know his is like he loses feeling on one side of his body sometimes. And then you have Jim Ross, who's a commentator for WWE famously, and now AEW. His whole side of his face looks like he had a stroke at all times, but he also has cerebral palsy.
Oh.
It's a
Oh
different-
wow.
Yeah, it's a different for every person, and it's weird. It's kind of like autism. Kind of attacks people differently.
Yeah, yeah. No,
And
I mean, I know that everybody's able to be like, oh, well, you have this kind of set of symptoms, and if you don't have this, you probably aren't. MS is something that's in my family.
mhm,
That's hard to watch. That's hard to see.
mhm.
I've watched a cousin and an uncle deal with that.
I have a friend that has it. Um,
I assume that autism runs in my family as well.
yeah, I have a friend that has MS, and then I have another friend, not really a friend, but a person I know of. They have Parkinson's, but it's weird the form they have. They have the form similar to what Ozzy Osbourne has, where it slowly progresses.
It's not the progressive type.
Yeah, like you're just slowly getting
Like,
worse instead of
yeah, Michael
overdone.
J. Fox had the rapid
And he's
loss
still
type.
going.
Hmm
20 years later.
He is, but he's in such bad shape. I mean, he shakes so hard now,
Mhm,
and that's terrible. But I'll tell you what, anytime I've ever seen anything having to do with him,
mhm.
he's kept a really like upbeat view.
Yeah.
You know, like I lived a good life. I don't, dude, I'm going to tell you right now. I don't know I could be that way whenever like I'm so sick that it's time. It may be time to, I know. No. Listen to me. I am that bitch that'll be like, and Bathroy did it. Let's try it. Like I'm telling you, I
That's
don't
the
care what it,
ego talking.
that is. I'm telling you, the devil goes poof. Hey, what do you? Okay, what do you need? What do you need? What do you need? As long as I don't have to do it to my kids, sure. Just
So on
immortal
the,
over here.
on the subject of horrible diseases, we talked earlier about how war has helped in the advancement of medicine. If it wasn't for World War II, we wouldn't have chemo or radiation.
Really,
That was a
I
war
didn't know
experiment.
that.
That was a war experiment.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's like that. It's like those. It's like those aliens I sent you. Oh,
Yeah.
look, they've made tools. Did that guy just kill the other guy with the tool? Oh, okay. Oh, look, hey, fire. Fires are really good. Did they just set that person on fire?
So I made a
And like, we
recent
just everything we do it out of like ready to kill.
I saw a news article recently, and I would like to do a deep dive video on it eventually for YouTube once I explore it more. Scientists took water molecules from different parts of the world and they studied them and they dated the water. I don't know what the process is, but they dated how old water is. And their findings was wild. Do you want to guess how old 20 to 50% of the water on the earth is?
I'm going to guess somewhere around trillions of years old.
The Earth is I think so. Let me double check before I make assumptions. The Earth is believed to be 4.5 billion years old. The Sun is 4.7 billion years old. The water on the Earth has been found, some of it, 20 to 50% of it, is 4.9 billion years old, which means it's older than the Earth itself and the Sun.
Well, that's why I said trillion, because what they're finding out is that water can travel.
Yes, there's space water. There's water
Yes,
storms
there's
in
space
space.
water. Yeah, and it's inside of certain rocks, certain comets, certain meteors. So whenever it hits here, it brings whatever with it. And every water molecule like has hit up with other molecules. Now, I don't know exactly how this works, all right? But I do know that these are separate from my face,
Yes.
but we don't know why.
Yep. Because it's all molecules.
Scientifically, whenever I go like this, I should be sliding them directly into the other molecules and they are created. But I do know that now that these are touching me, I now have glasses molecules inside of me. So the water molecules that were super, super old might also be hitting up against other super, super old water molecules enough to like contaminate and bring that out to 30%.
So I asked a friend of mine today, I'm like, how old are you? And he's like, I'm 23. Why? I'm like, how do you know? And he's like, well, I was born 23 years ago. I'm like, yes, but the molecules that you're made of are billions of years old. So wouldn't that make you a non-death, non-birth thing? But we gained consciousness and we believe that we are that old. Kind of like how I ask you, who are you? And you say, Jana. No, that's a name you're given when you're born. Nobody is. We are what we think
Nobody
we are.
is anything.
No, we are what we believe. And because we believe, we think we know. But none of us truly know, because the very existence of knowing is from person to person.
Yes. Yes.
There is truth in everything.
There is, absolutely. And I just find it amazing that the space between myself and the video camera right now, it is also filled with molecules. All of this has continued to be. We cannot, by the law of nature, we cannot cease to exist.
No, because molecules do not die. They just become a different being. So the molecules you're made up right now.
The same with energy.
The molecules you're made up right now might not form a being altogether, but they will form with other molecules to create something else.
Even if it's dirt, even if it's air, even if it's water.
Where does your consciousness go, though? Because it is part of the universe, but separate of the universe.
Well, I mean, that's the thing that people will kill over. But for me, it goes back into the main knowing.
Yep. Or
I know that might sound silly to some people, but.
Or it could go into another being, because there's a lot of kids that have memories that make no sense.
I actually do believe anymore in multiple lives. I do believe that our lives can be, we can be different things. And I do believe that what we're doing every time we're here is actually trying to find a new state of consciousness.
And we don't leave until we find the absolute consciousness.
I agree.
So you're a Gnostic.
I've been accused of worse. No, like seriously though, I really.
You blasphemous heretic! How dare you!
But I do know. I think that it is, and I think that whenever we're done here, we are shown everything. I was just talking with my mom about this, and she said that she believes it as well. We're shown everything. And suddenly all the things that we've been asking ourselves, but why? We understand why.
So to prove our point further from earlier, and here's another point from another, I consider him a philosopher, but in this book by Aleister Crowley, I read a part in it that really resonated with me. And I'm not a Thelemite. I don't belong to any religion. I collect my knowledge through various philosophers and people throughout history. But he says right here, every event, now this is kind of a long one, so bear with me.
Yeah.
Every event is a uniting of some. Sorry, I'm trying to find the part that I meant to read. Each one of us has thus a universe of his own, and it is the same universe for each one as soon as it includes all possible experience. This implies the extension of consciousness to include all other consciousness. In our present stage, the object that you see is never the same one that I see. We infer that it is the same because your experience tallies with mine on so many points that the actual differences of our observation are negligible. For instance, if a friend is walking beside us, you see only his left side and I see his right. But we agree that is the same man, although we may differ not only to what we may see of his body, but as to what we know of his qualities. This conviction of identity grows stronger as we see him more often and get to know him more. Yet all the time, neither of us can know anything of him at all beyond the total impression made on our respective minds. The above is an extremely crude attempt to explain the system, so he kind of explains it. But like, the one person that you know, like let's say we both know this person, that is a different person in my perspective than yours based on what he shows you and what he shows me.
Yes. And
Meaning,
I was just going to say, taking it a little further, sorry, I think that there might be a delay.
Go ahead, you're good.
Okay. But we are not the same person to anyone.
Including ourselves.
Including ourselves.
And that's a day-to-day, hour-to-hour thing. That's not just a week or a month. We are a different us to us by the hour, depending on the situation we are in. And we even beat ourselves up later on. We're like, oh, that's not like me. No, it is like you because you did it. Yeah. We don't even know ourselves.
Right. Right. And I think though that like the point of being here on Earth is to do a lot of that knowledge, to try to understand our true selves, to ask the questions beyond what am I, who am I, where did I come from?
Where did I go? Where did I come from? Cotton Eye Joe. Sorry. I had to.
But I mean, truly though, I do wonder like how we can reach a point of enlightenment.
You know how?
I know how I am finding it, but I wonder if it is this easy for not easy. If it is this easy to gather information and be able to look inward for others. Because I think I got like squashed and was ready to do it.
It's hard to do, especially in certain areas where dogma makes you afraid to explore yourself due to fear. And that's not just religious fear, that's fear of losing people from your life because of the dogma that they believe. And it's hard to seek the knowledge for that purpose because you're afraid of losing loved ones over it. And there's a lot of sects of different religions where you have to believe what they believe or you don't have a fucking family anymore. Right. That's the sad reality of the world. So a lot of people have those thoughts, but they view it as, oh, the devil's talking to me. No, that's your higher subconscious telling you something. Because the very devil and the very gods that people worship is within them. It's not an external. And enlightenment is from within. It's not from without. Because without is within.
Whiteboard?
Because in the old esoteric thought, as above, so below, as within, so without. What happens in the outside world and the way you reflect it on the inside is the way the outside world is. So if something bad happens to you and you take it as a bad, then it is a bad. If you take it as a good, whether or not it is a bad, it is now automatically a good by default.
All right. Okay. Yeah, no, I can see that.
So you have to break the trauma cycle in order to change the external world in your favor.
Yeah, and the trauma cycle first, I mean, I think that one of the hardest things for people to do is to recognize it.
I have that problem every day. I get a real bad depression. and I realize I worry about it. And it's an external instead of an internal, and it's hard to break that cycle because of trauma. And it's an excuse, but it's a fact. So breaking that cycle is nearly impossible for some people because that's what they are used to. It's like a drug.
Yeah. And I completely get that because I had that cycle of people in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was hard for me to break the response of understanding people who were highly toxic.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing though that I do feel that everyone, because this is why I didn't carry any generational trauma with me that was like a direct thing.
Mm-hmm.
I knew how badly my parents had hurt me, how badly my family had hurt me. So I did the opposite of everything that they did. Whenever it came to my children, whether I felt it or not, if it was something that whenever they did it made me feel bad, I would not do it. If it was something that whenever they did it made me feel good, which was kind of few and far between, I did that with my children to pass down the good portions. The song "You Are My Sunshine," that's our family song. Yes, that's our family song. And my kids have actually gotten me Mother's Day presents that are little like music boxes that they found that sang that and everything, because they remember it growing up. But what they did not get was beaten up. They didn't get screamed in their face. You know what I mean? Like they didn't get the things that had that was the trauma that was passed down and passed down and passed down. And so they didn't have to deal with any of that.
You used an interesting term in what you just said. You used the term toxic, which we all use that term. But is toxic real? Are toxic people real, or is it toxic energy? Because people only react based on their own ego. They react based on their own experience. They're not necessarily reacting bad on purpose. People react based on instinct and what they know.
So because I do some singular, just me and the camera teaching, basically. Yeah. What I always try to teach is that toxic is in itself a range.
Yeah.
And what is toxic for me may not be toxic for you. But what is toxic is anything that is going to make you feel like your rules are being violated. The rules for governing yourself, the rules for your own safety, your own happiness. Whenever you feel your boundaries are being violated, then they have to go. Maybe not the very first time, but if you, for example, the best one I can come up with was the most blatant boundary setting. I had a friend who, to be quite honest, she was wonderful. She was amazing as a human being. She was always trying to help people, but it was so much like, I need my alone time. I need to be sanctioned off from the world. And she was kind of and I say this not in like a screw her derogatory way, just some of us are clingy and some of us aren't. I am not clingy. She was.
Mm-hmm. It's the
now for a clingy person, she would have been perfect.
Mm-hmm.
What I could not handle was she would send me gifts. And I have a thing about money.
Yeah.
That is because of what's happened with my family. And so I do not appreciate anyone buying me anything.
That like, told me that.
Yeah. So like I sat her down and I'm like, please don't buy me anything anymore. So then gifts kept showing up, but it wouldn't have a sender. It wouldn't have an anything. It was coming from Amazon.
We boiled it down to her.
Well, I was like, what is going on? And finally she's like, it's me. And I'm like, well, I thought that I talked with you about, because it was creeping me out that like gifts were just showing up. But so she's like, well, I mean, I know that you said you don't like to give gifts, but that's how I show love. So, and like, it kind of hit me in that moment. It was like, but why should my needs just be like foo-fooed out of the way because your needs? But I'm like, okay, no, we're going to let it go. Things like that kept happening until finally one day I went, and I swear to God, I could not even believe this. She had bought me a gift certificate for a full body massage for an hour.
And that's a nice gift.
Incredible gift. But I hated, like, every time I'd look at it, I'd be like, something feels so weird about this.
See, I see it from both sides because was it gifts that you could use, or did she not know? Did she just buy random shit?
Sometimes it was random because she felt that something would be helpful. Now here's the thing though. The reason why that massage was the final straw was because I finally went through with it. She showed up.
That is weird.
She brought lunch. Turned out she knew the woman. And so while they were talking, she found out what day and time my appointment was. Because it was just casual conversation.
See, that's weird, but she could also be very friendly. I'm just playing the devil's advocate.
Oh, I
Not-
know. But what I'm saying is, though, that for me at that point, I was like, okay, wait. And then, you know what really cinched it was on my way home, I get a phone call and it's her. And she's like, my friend asked if you knew that I was coming. And I said no. And she said, that's kind of stalkerish of you, isn't it? And she said, you know what? Stalking Jana is the best thing I do.
Oh, that is
And I'm
creepy.
just sitting there and I was like, you know, and things started to kind of make sense. So like
See, that's a good time
now,
to distance.
yes. And the thing is that for me, she probably would not be toxic to people because there are people who are open.
Yeah.
Like I'm the type of person, if you know how to get into my phone, you and me, we will never part. You know too much. I got to keep you in the basement if you try to go anywhere. Okay. Like,
Goodbye,
sorry.
horses. You got Buffalo Bill over here. So I
I'm telling you.
had a therapist bring up something interesting to me, kind of relating to your story and what we've been talking about. Toxic is arranged, but also you are truly enlightened when you no longer take things personal or view people negatively and start feeling sorry for them.
So I have actually gotten to a point where, okay, have you ever recognized that somebody was attractive without actually feeling attracted to them? Like
Physically,
many
yes.
of us can do this. Yes.
Yeah.
Many of us can look at someone and we can say to ourselves, "Oh wow, they're really good. They're really attractive." But like we're not actually attracted to them. We just recognize them as being attractive people.
Yes.
And so what we do is we kind of look up, we recognize, hey, that's an attractive person. Dang. And then we go back to how we were.
Yeah. But
That's
it's
how
nice
I'm
when
taking toxicity anymore.
it's nice when people feel that way, but it's not great when everyone feels that way about you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, it wouldn't feel good. But that's now how I've started dealing with
That's how you have to.
because I can look up and I can go, oh, that's toxic for me. And like I said, is everyone going to recognize it as toxic? Is it toxic behavior? Maybe. Some people, I feel, go out of their way to be toxic.
On purpose.
you see it every day on Facebook.
And they brag about it. Yeah, I see it.
Yeah, and you know what? And I'm not even going for one side here because I am an independent voter. The amount of times that I have seen across the board, well, my guy or gal, but normally my guy does this, and you're all stupid for not recognizing it. Thank you very much. And I'm just like, I'm just like,
You know, I hate when I bring up the argument and then somebody says, well, you must be, and names the other side. Like, no, that's not a very good argument because you don't know what I am. You're just projecting your own insecurities onto me, for one. And for two, they're like, well, what about so-and-so did that? So you're saying the action is wrong when they do it, but it's okay when your guy does it. Like,
or like, I'm sorry, dude. Like, everybody is handed a gun, and the guy on the end turns to shoot the guy beside him, who just sits there and takes it and then like goes on down the line. I'm not going to sit there and take it.
Yeah.
I'm going to shoot back.
Yeah.
I'm not going to sit there and just watch all of these people do the wrong thing over and over again. I'm not going to watch somebody steal and be like, oh, well, they stole, so it's okay for me to steal. No, people, we know not to kill. We know not to just let people kill us. We know not to steal. Like,
so when it comes to rulers, sorry, I'm writing notes. I am listening to you.
it's okay.
True leaders, at least my interpretation of a true leader, isn't somebody who feeds on the hate of a nation, feeds on insecurities, it's somebody who brings us together.
Okay. I realized something last night. And you know what? If you don't mind, I'm just going to say, forgive me, guys. You know, fire your plates with management. I am HR. Please leave this poor man alone. So, okay. In all honesty, I said when Trump got elected, because I'm going to admit something here. I voted for him the first time.
We all make mistakes.
Because Clinton, I didn't know anything about Trump, but I knew about Clinton. I did not know what he would be like as a leader. I had no choice but to listen to what he was offering.
See, that's
within a month of his first term, I was like, whoa, oh, I'm not doing that again.
Well, the thing is, though, and I'm not holding it against you, but a lot of people tend to ignore what a person actually says with what they claim they are. Look at Trump. Trump's a great example. He says, you may never have to vote again. And he says all these off-the-wall shit, and people take it as him joking. And when he actually does it, they're shocked.
Okay, so I'm going to admit, whenever I voted for him, I can't not vote. Because I like to complain. Okay?
Me too. That's why I don't vote.
But for this is why toxic to some, not toxic to others, because we all run by our own rules, right?
Yeah.
So like because my son won't vote. He refuses. He does not want to. He said he wants no part of that shit show. Yeah. And I can respect that 100% because just what I do is me. I don't care how other people do it. And I absolutely understand why people would not vote or vote third party. I'm not going to be mad at anybody. It's your right.
I have a legit reason, though, because our vote for federal government doesn't matter. The Electoral College picks it. Trump lost the first time.
Yeah. Yes, he did.
He lost. But he won. The Electoral College chooses, for one. And for two, I'm going to use a George Carlin quote really quick. People flip it. They say, you didn't vote, so you don't have the right to complain. Why not? I didn't vote in these fucking idiots. So why don't I have the right to complain?
I am the person. So here's literally why I won't not vote. And it's not even because of just my convictions, because I think that even if you don't vote, you get to complain.
Yeah.
I am
Right.
the person that will hate myself if I stub my toe in front of a group of people I've never met. Well, I used to be, I should say. So my thing was always like, well, if you don't vote, you don't get the right to even complain. You take whatever and so like now because of this argument that I have inside my own brain, I must always vote.
Because
But
we were pounded into our heads at a young age. Sorry to interrupt.
no.
We had it pounded in our brains at a very young age. That very
And
thing.
I took it very seriously, but it was in fact Trump's first time becoming president that taught me it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what we vote.
Well, I was a Bernie bro, man.
That's I mean, seriously.
That proves that elections don't matter because he was insanely popular.
You know what? Okay, I feel like Clinton's I really do believe that if there is any conspiracy theories around who gets elected in and everything, that Bernie is what proves that. Because he was the most popular. Everybody wanted him in. Nobody wanted her.
Joe Rogan was a Bernie supporter.
Nobody wanted her. No one wanted her. I voted for Trump, hoping that he wasn't a racist, hoping he wasn't the things that people were saying that he was. And I think it took like a month.
I'm sorry to say, Jana, but I told you so. I'm sorry, but I did. I told you back then. I'm like, he's not that great. I'm not gonna like accuse him of being a racist, even though he claimed that 3 black kids that were proven innocent or guilty.
Okay, here's the thing. I guess that I saw this the other day. My friend, who is a person of color, posted this. So please know that I am only explaining it just in case anybody gets mad. But it was DEI is the new N-word.
Yeah.
You're allowed to say it now. Do you know you're also allowed to say the R word?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, I have a friend
I hear that the Democrats. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I have a friend that has a joke, and I'm sorry if I spoil the joke for you, brother, but he says that he doesn't like the R word, but he still uses it because he's an elder millennial, and it does offend some people. But what other name are you going to call people that yells at in traffic and does crazy things and is missing a few brain cells? Like, I still love my Republican friends and family. Like, but go ahead. Sorry.
I love that, actually. See, that word actually does have real reasons for use.
Yeah.
But you don't need to be calling other people that, because you're actually like just being wrong on so many levels, you know? But Elon uses it. Now all of a sudden every Republican or Republican leaning person that I know of uses it as well. And I'm like, excuse me?
See, and I'm going to be facetious here. I'm sorry. But Elon's allowed to say it similar to why black people can say the N-word. I'll just leave it at that. Because he... Never mind. Oh.
Elon is a special K kid. Well, ketamine. He was addicted to it. I guess he's been on interviews talking about like Unless Special K is another kind of drug.
It's
Is it the same? I don't know a lot of drug names.
that's why I use Google on here a lot. It is ketamine.
Okay, it is.
Hmm.
But yeah, he's a Special K kid.
I'm not
So
one.
like,
I'm not one to say. I say controversial things, but I'm not one to say one side or another. I just like to ruffle some feathers. So I'm going to ruffle feathers right now. RFK Jr. has been talking against putting a needle in your body, which is a vaccine. However, he was a 15-year heroin addict. He doesn't trust vaccines, but he trusts.
oh. Yeah, that's kind of like the smoker who quit smoking and suddenly wants everybody to quit smoking because no nicotine ever.
I want to hear him and Elon Musk talk
But
because
but
Elon
he's
stutters.
also the one. Yeah, he does.
Sorry, go ahead.
The one thing, no, that's fine. I think sometimes we're getting a lag.
You're good. You're good.
But
We're good.
the one thing though that I will say about like he doesn't believe in vaccines,
Yes.
but he wants you to put a liver killing vitamin into your body.
Yes. I'm waiting.
That's where I'm like, because
waiting.
even if it's a small amount helps, people don't do small amounts.
I'm waiting for the Republicans to start blaming the worm in his head for some of the stupid shit he says. Like I'm just waiting for that. I'm just
I've seen the Democrats doing it.
with Joe, old Biden. It's weird. It's weird because we had a president who was incoherent and wasn't all there, and now we have another one. But it's okay because he's our guy. Like that don't make sense.
Dude, somebody needs to take Trump's phone off of him when he starts drinking at night. I'm telling you right now. I really have you seen the things he tweets in the middle of the night?
It's not tweeting. He's on Truth Social. You have to be a member to read his tweets. Oh,
Oh no, I'm able to go on there. I don't think I'm on there. But like I followed the
He
links.
owns it. He made Truth Social because Twitter banned him when it wasn't owned by Elon yet.
Yeah, I don't think I'm on it, but I've been able to see his stuff. No, okay,
Yeah,
then that would explain why a lot of people. Huh.
I think he might have rejoined when Elon Musk bought it, but I think he's on both now.
I think so. I mean, Musk makes certain. Oh.
Yeah, Trump is back on Twitter. I just went on there to see. And the thing is like, people ask, why do you always bash Trump and you don't bash the Democrats? Well, it's very simple. Kind of like why do Satanists bash Christianity and not other religions? Well, the other religions and the other parts of government and the other party is not the main focus right now. It's not the main focus. The area I live in is a very conservative area. So naturally, a person who fights against the hierarchy and doesn't really believe in what he's told is going to go after the very party that is hypocritical and believes that they are doing good by trying to push a dictatorship or a fascist theocracy. It's very natural to do so, and it is the common thing.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And I've got friends of all different things, and I don't bring up certain topics because then they get very foul when you question their very thoughts.
I don't think that I intended it because I didn't realize it until this last election, but probably a good 90% of people that I know are either libertarian, constitutionalists, Democrats, independents. I barely have any actual friends who are Republicans.
Me either, and even the Republican Party isn't the Republican Party anymore. They're the Trump Party. They do and follow everything Trump says.
now I remember what I was starting to tell you earlier. So when it came to Trump on this second term,
Mhm.
I think that everybody forgot how bad he was.
Yeah, you needed that term that he didn't have to realize what he was.
And the people who didn't bother, because like I'm fine under whatever, because like I said, I'm an independent. I'm going to criticize both sides.
Yep.
But
we
we really should. We should criticize whenever we see what we don't like. We should celebrate whenever we see what we did.
do away with the cultist behavior. Like, don't worship a side, don't follow a side. You're an American. You're not a Republican. You're not a Democrat. You're a fucking American. Anyway, sorry, continue.
Well, I freaked out a lot of people today because I shared that Republicans did a really good thing. And
they do.
oh, so okay, Trump has gone off the rails so hard that the Republicans are no longer exactly towing the line. They're actually very much over what's happening right now. So they've started just working with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And the Democrats kept saying, listen, Trump is going to cut Medicare and Medicaid. If you don't, do something to stop it, if we introduce something, will you? And they were like, no, it's fine, it's fine, it's fine. And they pushed through a stopgap bill, which basically, like, they did push through a stopgap. And then finally they come up to the regular bill that they just passed recently, the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And the Democrats are like, listen to me. You just passed a budget that says you will take 810 billion or million or whatever out of this sector. That sector's largest part, which is almost exactly that amount, is Medicaid and Medicare. So what the Republicans, like, the first part of that happened way early in January.
Mm-hmm.
The second part of that happened in, say, February. Well, last month, with everything going on, the Democrats are like, dude, we need to. And one Republican stepped forward and was like, no, I see exactly what you're saying now. So we now have this add-on bill to send through that says he's not allowed to touch Medicaid or Medicare during that entire thing.
So my question is why do us as people tend to ignore facts because they don't go with our own beliefs until it's too late? Because all of this stuff is falling in line with Project 2025. And everybody was saying, well, people's like, well, Trump isn't for Project 2025. He's for Agenda 46, which is the same thing. Which is
his vice president. This is what I don't understand. And this is why I do believe that whenever Trump said, I love uneducated voters, he really was talking about the people in front of him.
Yeah.
Because, dude, he's sitting there saying, I don't even know what Project 2025 is. I have nothing to do with that. His vice president helped write it.
Trump was at a Heritage Foundation event in 2016 doing a speech. And he said they're coming up with a great plan. They're writing a great plan. I like it. J.D. Vance was never a Trump guy either, by the way.
Oh, no. In fact, most of the people that he has sitting around him used to call him terrible names.
Yeah, J.D. Vance said, I don't know who I'm voting for, but I know I'm not voting for Trump. That's a real J.D. Vance quote. Mm-hmm. He was there's a lot. How Joe Rogan never supported Trump till recently. He was a Bernie guy. So why are all of these former Bernie people getting on the opposite side of the spectrum?
He's promised them things, or they paid enough to be there.
Yeah, more than likely, because Joe Rogan that got Trump on his show.
Yeah, I believe Elon Musk. It is reported that he spent $42 billion to get Trump elected. And I don't know if anybody noticed, the final the final cutoff for most Republicans as far as having any kind of respect for the current administration, which I really can say boils down to Donald Trump and Elon Musk, because they're the two people running the show right now. But the Republicans began to split from them whenever there was video of Musk handing people cash and then handing out $1 million checks to those who voted the way he wanted them to.
And Trump said at a rally in Pennsylvania that I was worried that I wouldn't make it to the Olympic Games because I wouldn't be president. But Elon knows those voting machines so well, and I am now your president.
Yeah.
He admitted to voter fraud, and nobody said anything.
No, nobody did.
Which goes back
Do
to
you know?
It goes back to the theory that human beings project themselves onto others. He accused the Democrats of the very same thing in 2016. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, absolutely. I was just going to say that. Well, now I'm forgetting what I was going to say, because now I'm thinking of how humans project, and that's another thing that I teach is, like, people will see you however they want to see you, based on what they.
Yeah.
Now, see, here's the thing. For voting, so I actually reside in West Virginia. A lot of people assume that I'm from Pittsburgh. I reside right outside of Pittsburgh in West Virginia. So we are a very Republican-run state. We are also the poorest state with the worst education, with the highest amount of deaths, with the worst medical. I could go on.
Yep.
But they keep voting Republican because they are uneducated. And in order to understand what Democrats are doing, some uneducated voters cannot grasp that. And that's not to say that just because you are a Republican, you are uneducated. It's the uneducated that became the feverish MAGA crowd.
Yep. And also, and I'm going to get hate for this, but fuck it. Let's expose some hypocrisy too, because the very party that not even 10 years ago was talking against electric cars, we need to bring coal back, and they were talking bad even before that about the president at the time being from Kenya, Africa. Ew, he shouldn't be running president. He shouldn't be running a country because he's from Africa. Fast forward, the same man who spoke of all that in the same party now allow a man to have influence who is from South Africa and owns the biggest electric car company that the world has ever seen.
Okay, so here's the thing though, and this is what I mean by the uneducated, because everything I'm about to talk about is people who are MAGA and not Republican. There is a difference.
Yeah.
They've started doing studies on just how messed up MAGA supporters are. So Republicans tend to look at things in one way. Democrats tend to look at things in another way. We're all trying to get to the same point. We just argue over how to do it.
Yeah.
MAGA supporters only understand the road that is set in front of them by Trump, because they think that he is someone that would sit down and have a beer with him.
Well, here's my point I'm going to make, adding to what you said, is there is no real description of Republican or Democrat, because the Republican Party used to be very liberal. They were against, the Republicans were against slavery, which was a very liberal idea at the time. They were against all kinds of things that would have been considered liberal. Civil rights. They wanted civil rights at one time. And people say the party switch never happened, but you need to understand that liberal is not another term for Democrat. Liberal means that you believe in positive change. You don't want to stick to what our core values are or whatever. If it's a positive change, we'll change it. Back then, slavery was a very rooted in America. at one time. So it'd be very liberal to want to change that. Conservative means sticking to your original values, sticking to what you're told. There's a lot of very liberal Republicans and there's a lot of very conservative Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
There's Democrats that are pro gun laws. There's Democrats that are pro against healthcare. There's Democrats that are like, it exists.
Well, and then, like I shared the story today about the Republicans who made certain, in fact, they put into this bill that not only is no one allowed to touch Medicare or Medicaid in order to get this deficit worked out,
Mm-hmm.
they are to work on doing whatever is necessary during this time to improve for the weakest of the population, or most vulnerable of the population is normally how they put it. But the only thing is, that would be the only critique I would have about this, and that's not about them being Republicans. I think that a lot of people in their class, in their range of bank accounts,
Mm-hmm.
the lawmakers, the policymakers don't recognize that there's also a problem with, as soon as somebody gains $5, they lose $2-3 grand worth of help.
Really?
They no longer, yes, there are set rules. And if you are in a state where, say, you're allowed to make $12,500, if you make $12,501, they're not allowed to do anything for you because you're $1 over. You will lose your medical. You will lose your daycare. You will lose your ability to have counseling. You will lose your food stamps. So people will, and I can't say I don't understand why they would do this. People will pass up promotions.
Mm-hmm.
Because that promotion will put them over the limit, but it will not subsidize enough of what they were already getting. So we need a phase out category for whenever people start working or whenever they can get ahead. And we need to have a phase out category so that we're slowly letting go of the kid on the bike until suddenly they're just running on their own.
Well, you know what causes that happening in our society, in my opinion, is a lot of that will not change because I see a lot of people demonizing the less fortunate instead of realizing that the real issue isn't the less fortunate. It's the multimillionaires that take government loans and shit to keep their businesses afloat because they're failing. Sorry, but there's no business too big to fail. If it fails for a reason. That's how democracy works. That's how capitalism works.
And we have unchecked capitalism.
Yeah. And
other places,
Doge is not going to expose that because they are part of that problem. But go ahead.
No, okay, on that one right there. It cost somewhere around $88 million. Was it 88 million or 88 billion? I'm going to say million. No, probably more, probably closer to the billions. Anyway, for that trip, no, it was millions, for that trip to the Super Bowl that he stayed for half the game.
Yeah.
88 million.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, it put such a tax on the police departments in that area that they could not get anyone else out. If you called for an ambulance, fuck you.
Right. And that shouldn't be either.
No. So he was spending our money so that he could do that. Then he went to a raceway to what was it, like the something 500, but I think but he went there and they let him take one of their cars out for a spin. That cost almost double what it costs to have him over at the Super Bowl.
Also, if I'm not mistaken, Doesn't Trump stay at his own hotels, which means that that's kind of embezzling our tax dollars into his own business?
And he refuses to give the guys that have to be there for Secret Service and everything else any
Uh-huh.
type of discount.
Also, another hypocrisy-driven thing is Trump used to hate on other presidents for golfing too much, but he has been documented golfing more than any president.
Right. Yeah. I really feel like at this point he's just enjoying the perks of being president, treating himself like a king and letting everybody else run the country for him. Well, we know who he's letting run the country for him.
Well, if you go way up the list of order and even into conspiracy theories, presidents and lawmakers don't even run the country, more than likely. It is a small family, and that family owns all the centralized banks in the United States.
Now, I know who you're talking about, but here's my question. I have to ask it. But would Elon Musk actually be more powerful than them because he is the richest man in the United States?
He's
Possibly
not,
in the
they
world.
are. They are.
Oh, but their wealth is distributed?
Their wealth is undocumented. Nobody knows how rich they are. That's how rich they are. They fund both sides of every war and both sides of every election. Now, people would claim that Trump was an outsider, right?
But he was on
However,
Epstein Island.
that too. However, do you know who was in charge, who became the commerce secretary under Trump's administration the first time?
No. Mm-mm.
It was a gentleman by the name of Wilbur Ross. Now, that's an important name because Wilbur Ross was the head of the bankruptcy department of Rothschild and Corporation, which is the family, you got it, the richest family in the world.
I had no idea.
He quit after like 50, 60 years with them to join Trump in his cabinet.
Wow.
So, what if the Clintons helped him win?
Oh boy.
What if Biden helped him win? What better way to help somebody win than to be like, I'm still running for president, and then here's a woman you know nothing about. They literally set themselves up to let Trump win. Trump is a Democrat. Have that for a conspiracy theory.
Yeah, I never really understood that.
He was a Democrat up until he ran for president. He was.
Yeah, no, that's insane. I did not realize that.
He didn't want to run as a Democrat against Hillary Clinton because he didn't know who he was running against as a Republican. So why not run as a Republican against your friend who doesn't want it anyway, and then them just give it to you?
Yeah.
It's all a show. That's all politics is. And I might sound like a crazy conspiracy theorist, but that's because I am. But but aren't we all to some extent? Because we don't know. We just live what we assume.
Yeah. Yeah, no,
And
I
then when you start questioning it, then you realize that you don't know and you never will know. So then you get multiple theories, as we've had in the past.
I mean, I still think though, because they're theories, you're allowed to have multiple.
Yeah. And people tend to forget that. People tend to say, well, you said this last week. Yeah, because the human mind changes as we learn more.
Yeah.
But it's weird that, and this is my last political statement before we move on, before we cut it out of here. But isn't it weird that a party that claims being religious and you need to be Christ-like, right? Completely demonized a socialist Jew.
Hey. Didn't even think of that.
Bernie, I mean, he was what? Sorry, my shit cut off. Anyway,
Oh, there we are. Okay.
I'm funny. I made that point and then my shit froze. But like, it's funny and ironic that like they voted the adulterer in, but they would
Yes.
vote in the man who marched with Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
But back to the real subject at hand, though, is the voting may not even matter.
No, it may not.
It's just an illusion to make us think it matters, to keep us against one another.
Well, people say that we need the electoral college because would you want California deciding? And it's like, listen, I want whoever the largest portion of citizens of the United States are to make the choice. That's what I want.
I understand that, but also if you are in charge, right? If you're rich, if you're running the country, what
Oh yeah,
better
they don't.
what better way to keep people in line than to do the old Roman thing of divide and conquer? Keep the people divided so that they don't realize you're the enemy, and
Yep.
then conquer them from within with little laws that people don't really understand, and then they will eventually turn into laws that control you. But you're going to blame the other guy because they are the enemy, even though neither side is the enemy. It's the people that's doing this shit that truly is.
Right. Yeah.
No. This country was founded on rich people. It was founded on rich farmers, for goodness sakes. That's who was in
Yes, it
charge.
was.
So we need to do this again, though. I really do enjoy chatting with you,
Oh, absolutely.
even though we do get controversial at times. But I want you to talk about you a little bit and what you've got going on and what's new with you, because we never got to talk about you. We talked about life and existence, and we diverted away from you. So it's time for you to take that ego and use it. Take the floor.
So what's funny is that I recently found out that a lot of people thought that I dropped out of doing photography. I did not realize that because I've been getting so much word of mouth stuff happening that I haven't really needed to post my stuff. Plus, what I'm doing a lot of now involves like families and children and everything. And while I do have permission to share the photos, I was like, oh, I don't know though. Do I really need to share this little one? But I've decided that I really need to get to remind people, hey, I'm out here. I'm just not doing as many shows now. I'm doing all kinds of other stuff. I'm doing promotional band photos. I'm doing things like that. I'm out here doing. It's really big to have 1-month-old photos and first birthday photos. So like these are the kind of things I'm doing. And it's been very fun and very fulfilling. But so yeah, hey, I'm still out here. I am working on rebranding First Angel Media.
Oh, to
So
what?
so I'm looking at a more well-rounded arts and entertainment.
So like booking
And
events or
no, more of what we're going to be doing is going to be, see, my original idea for it, the thing I really wanted for it to be was a hub.
yeah.
And I wanted it to be a place where people could find entertainment. Now, at the time, I wanted it to be for music, but now we've got music from the 412. While I was taking my hiatus, that all happened. And to be honest, they're doing such a great job. Pittsburgh doesn't really need First Angel the way that they did for the music. So I wanted to go back to it being a hub for arts and find like maybe the events that I'll be doing from now on would be like an art exhibit or something along those lines. Charity shows, going back to the basics of everything. I've always wanted it to be about mental health and the expressions thereof, which for me in a large way is music. But now I'm also into photography. I have my writings. I have all kinds of stuff. And I would like for it to become more of an entertainment hub for comedians, for shows like this even, to have another outlet to use to promote themselves. And I'm also working on with my friend Anthony and my friend Silhouette Death. We we are watching Wicked, and we're going to get together. I mean, and we're going to get together and we're going to do like a movie critiques.
See, those work.
And yeah, I love it, and I'm looking at doing that. We're gonna do a one-off, and we're gonna see how it goes, and see if it's something that we want to continue doing together.
Well, to add to what you're saying, I'm planning on making more content as well, and on my YouTube channel, going back to the whole thing. By the way, I finish all topics. I just get back to them, and I finish them all.
Dude, I do the same.
The Earth being, the water on Earth being older than the Earth itself is a very interesting theory, because some of the oldest mythology stories start with nothing but water, or nothing but chaos, nothing but an endless void, which is symbolic of water. So, what if they knew back then that we was water first, and from that water came humans? So I'm going to do a whole video series covering each mythology and what their creation story is and how it adds up to the scientific findings recently.
See, honestly, that is the kind of stuff that I think is insanely cool. I have a friend, I'm not going to say who yet because it'll be up to them, but I have a friend who probably tomorrow I will be sitting down with and going over how to host their show. And so they are Christian, but they are the right kind of Christian. And they have friends. Yes. And I don't want to say even if it's a he or she until they're ready. But so I'll be sitting down with them, because what they're going to be doing is inviting people on to talk religion, and like where the middle ground is and everything, and to talk about beliefs and how people practice them. And I think that that's going to be an amazing show. So, like, I'm rebranding, and it's probably going to be very podcast centered.
I have an idea.
What's that?
And I'm putting this out in the ether. This idea is not original. No idea is. We've covered that in the last episode.
Yes.
Why not branch out First Angel Media into like a live 24/7 broadcast where it plays music that you guys support? It plays radios, like podcast shows that you support, and it's like a radio station that runs 24/7.
Because currently that is music from the 412. They have created Pittsburgh MTV, and I think it is amazing. And I do, now that I'm back, I want to be able to help out a little bit over there. But since they're doing what I couldn't before, I'm like, you know what? Like, I still love arts. I still love entertainment. I like being my goofy self out there in the world.
I didn't mean like an MTV. I think you misunderstood what I meant.
Well, they have radio, they have DJs, and they have the music videos of the artists in Pittsburgh.
I meant more so like a local version of kind of like Sirius XM, where like you go on there and you can just listen to it while you're driving, or you could, and it's just local artists.
So they have the radio portion, but I don't know if you can listen to it in your car.
Because you can get an app on this. You could literally create an app, and you can just listen to it like Spotify, but it's a radio. I have a friend that used to do that, and I have several that used to do that. They became DJs, and then they just started doing like, there's different apps you can get, or you can just make your own, which that gets pricey. But
yeah, you know what? I want to see. I am writing Bill right now.
And if you do something like that, let me know, because I would love to be a part of it.
I think that they may be looking for DJs over there if it's what you're talking about. I'm going to see if that's what he does.
Well, what I was thinking is like even if not DJing, I could always broadcast my podcast pre-records on different things to promote.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Also, guys, if you want to learn more, I am on all social media, usenick.com. If you don't use Nick, you'll lose Nick. Where can we find you at?
So you can basically find me anywhere and just put in either Jana Macheca or First Angel Media. On Facebook and Instagram, I am more active as myself currently, as I am changing around things with First Angel. But they're both public profiles. And then I am kind of like everywhere. My YouTube is First Angel Media. And under that, you'll find This Is Me, which you have been on.
Yes.
Under the podcast. But yeah, so we're switching things around. We're making it so that these things exist in a more collective effort.
See,
so if anyone wants, a place to throw their stuff.
See, that's where what I believe we should all collaborate. That's the key to life. By the way, I do have a Discord if you would like to join. If you know anything about Discord.
Yes, I know very little, but I am looking into it more.
I have a Discord server. It's called Unleashed Coven. It is on the Usenick website. It's the Unleashed Coven. I just got the link up. It should work. It's a non-expiring link. You can just join it. We're just going to go on there and hang out. If I'm not on there and somebody else is, you can go over there and hang out, invite your friends, whatever. I don't care who comes. All I ask is be as respectful as you can. If there's a conversation you don't like and you can't be respectful, then don't be a part of it.
Yes.
And we might be doing. We might do book readings over there. We might do movies. I'm working on doing that in TV shows.
Right.
Like have a movie night or something, or a book reading.
Yes.
Night, I bought a lot of books recently. I need to read. I buy books and I never read them.
Yeah, no, I've done that. I've absolutely done that.
I'll do the audiobook. So in my defense, I know what the book's about, but I buy the physical copy and it just sits there like it's like a decoration. Like,
I have a few like that on the shelf up there behind me.
It's like necklaces. Nobody knows what the hell I am by looking at me because I got like fucking everything. I'm like the occult version of Mr. T. Like you gotta catch them all. I don't know what's going on over here. What are you? I don't know. I'm going to hell in 7 different religions. I'm not sure what I am.
Oh, Lord.
Shit.
Well, it was really nice chatting, though. Hopefully we'll get together again.
It's been 2 hours.
That's insane.
Yes. Is that a crystal ball behind you? Is that like a UFO? What is that?
One moment. I know what you're looking at.
It looks like a... Is that like the official symbol of the ancient astronauts? What the Oh, that's the wheel of the year. Yeah. Which wheel of the year is that? Like which version of paganism?
This is the Holly King. So let's see here. I don't know exactly which one. I think it's just the most basic. Ostara, Bellatine.
Oh,
yeah, I think it's just
East.
I think
it's actually pronunciated, from my understanding, Eastar.
Eastar?
It's actually the. Is it spelled EOSTRE or is it ISH? Oh, Ostara. That's a different one. Okay. There's 3 different names for that same exact goddess, depending on where
Really?
Yeah, there's Ostara, which I think is Greek, maybe. And then there's Ishtar, which is Sumerian. And then there's Eastar, which is EOSTRE, which is Irish.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, this is just a pretty basic, like, during winter, here's your months of winter, here's your moons of winter, here's your gods of winter, here's the people who were born in these months, and then symbols of them. And then in each little one, Like it tells you the equinox.
So it's like a Wiccan wheel.
Yeah, it helps me to keep my mind on where I am during the year. But right beside me, I do have crystal balls.
Wicca is very weird religion, and I mean that in the nicest way possible. It came out in the 60s, but they're like eclectic pagans, really. They use
They are.
religion from various parts of the world. They do the chakras, but they also worship
Yes.
whatever their goddess they want.
Yeah.
Like
Wicca is kind of, it feels like a hodgepodge of various, but Wicca seems to be, because I was a Wiccan, but it's more of a, as you feel, let it be.
mhm.
He's looking something up, people. He's got it.
No, there's actually a book you can buy on Wicca. It's called Wikipedia.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
There's a few. I've had a few.
I was just making sure I had it right. I didn't know if it was a website or a book, and it's a book that
Yeah.
you could.
Wikipedia, I love that.
Wicca is interesting because people tend to forget it's a modern religion. It was
It
founded in the
is.
60s in Britain.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of
Yeah.
like the only more recent than that would either be, I think, Mormons or Scientologists. Because Scientologists in
Did not
2005.
realize. 2005, that's whenever that came into being?
Popular. It came out in the 90s or 80s or something like that. But like it became popular when Tom Cruise got a hold of it.
Yeah, true.
And Mormons, I don't know how old that is. Let me look it up real quick because I'm going to get shunned by a Mormon. That sounds like a Guar song, Shunned by a Mormon. Mormonism dates back, I'm sorry, it is older than Wicca by a lot. 1820s. It was founded in New York. As far as I know, they believe a dude by the name of John Smith was visited by Jesus and received tablets in a location that nobody else was at, and he read them. He's pretty much the Moses.
Yes, he is.
And they have special underwear that prevents them from having sex. They also do a thing called soaking. Are you familiar with soaking?
No.
It's when the male sticks his tip in the woman and just lets it sit there, because that's not sex. They just let it sit there. And then a buddy sometimes comes around and bounces on the bed because the Lord don't know. And then he doesn't know the difference. But the thing with soaking is it makes sense, though. If I put my toe in a pool, that's not swimming. So I get it. I'm with you, Mormons.
That's terrible.
I know.
That is terrible.
With that being said, go follow Jana. What are you? What is your nationality? Because your name has a lot going on there.
Okay, so don't feel bad about this. My first name is actually Jana.
But you've said Jana before.
No, I don't believe I have. I know that people have said my name as Jana, Jonah. Very rarely do I ever get the Jana. But so my name was originally Jana Lee Spencer, which is, I am told, French, but I believe Spencer is actually English. Can't be certain. I'm actually Irish, Italian, and then it kind of goes from there. I am Heinz 57. If it's out there, it's in here.
So I found something out for you since you weren't sure where Spencer came from. The surname Spencer is an Anglo-Norman origin derived from the Old French word dispensier, meaning a steward or someone who managed provisions or money in a noble household. It evolved through various forms such as espensier in Anglo-French and spence in Middle English.
Oh, all right. Okay.
You handle money. That's- See, my
I
last
do know-
name's weird. Sorry. My last
No,
name's
that's
weird because they named people after like what they used to do. You know what I mean? Like what their jobs were.
Yes.
I don't know who Nick is. But
I don't know what a Macheca is. Now I've been Spencer, and then I was adopted Wallace, and now I'm Macheca from marriage. And yeah, my name is Jana because I'm named after an uncle because it's a spite name.
so I don't
If
know.
you've never heard of a spite name, I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry. I do know a spite name. A spite name is when somebody's upset at somebody, so they just name their kid that.
Uh-huh.
I don't know the origins of Macheca. How do you pronounce it?
So Macheca, and
Macheca.
supposedly, this is a bastardized form of another name that was like a famous gangster. But originally, their family is oh, good grief! I'm trying to Polish.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Polish, but most people that I've ever met that has Macheca are from like the southern portions of the earth.
So
So I don't, because like Mexico, South America, kind of like islands, that kind of stuff is generally where like most Machecas are.
that's pretty much what my search just found. It is actually a very uncommon name in the United States. There's only 111 people that have it. However,
And that's
however,
me and my 4 children.
however, it is more common in the Philippines, Iceland, and Mozambique.
Huh. See, I know all the, like, seriously, they can have my DNA. I don't think they want it. But I've always wanted to get checked out. We did trace our family because actually I'm a Kennedy. No joke.
Are you that
We're all,
Kennedy?
yeah, I am.
What happened though? Because honestly, JFK was like a lot of people thought had great values and great morals, and he was all for the country. And then you have Robert, who's like the opposite side of the political spectrum.
I don't know. And like, even though like our families are crossed, it's like so far back. They're not actually like my close family or anything like that. It's just that I will say though that I think that actually JFK's death led to RFK being more of a Republican than anything.
Interesting. Oh, did
Because
you?
his death really affected, and then his brother immediately after almost. Well, wait, it was a few years later, right?
Yeah, Robert Kennedy Sr. died a few years later. He was actually running for president at the time, and it was during his campaign rallies. He was shot right before he did a speech.
Mm-hmm.
Did you know? I saw a video on this, and this is legit. However, they explain why in the video. But all but one of our presidents are related.
Really?
Yes, and do you want to guess which one president isn't related?
Trump?
Nope.
Oh, which one?
Joe Biden, I do believe, is what the video said.
Really?
Yes. But
I had no idea.
it makes sense because 90% of Americans are related to one another, whether it is distant or not.
Or not. Yep.
However, it is weird to say that over half of our presidents were descendants of King George.
I had no idea.
Yeah, a lot of them were distant. King John of England, and King George. So either one.
Well, that is crazy. I had no idea. See, I'm learning all kinds of stuff. That's why
Yeah.
I'm going to do this again.
look up on YouTube, All Presidents Related. It's a very interesting video to watch. But I love you.
Definitely.
It was amazing chatting with you. And
Oh, it was so wonderful chatting with you too.
let's do this again soon. Much love.
Absolutely. Mwah.